Hello and welcome to Red Shirt. My name is Yevon. How may I help you? Howdy, partner. Just take a look at this old thing. I set it up yesterday, and it damn near killed me when it blew up. Now, the way I see it, you boys are somewhat responsible. Sorry, sir. All says I'll find out. Is that so? Well, alrighty then. Maybe I'll just sue you instead. How are you, mate? Now, before you go and do anything rash like, let's take a look at your options. Now, the way I see it, you'd be looking at following this up under the Trade Practices Act of 1974. Probably Part VA, sections 75AA to 75AS. Now, according to this part of the Act, anyone who suffers an injury by means of a defective good has the right to sue for compensation for any loss suffered as a result of the goods being unsafe. This does include personal injury and damage to property, alright? Alrighty, that sounds like me. How do we be sure? Well, when it comes to this, trading, financial and foreign corporations are all fair game. But the key is, of course, that they've got to be classified as manufacturers under the Act. Speaking of, for the purpose of the Act, growers, extractors and assemblers are all classed as manufacturers. So are component part manufacturers, store branders, importers where the company doesn't have a business operation in Australia, and also sellers or suppliers if they fail to comply with the 30-day notice provision. Well, what does that mean exactly? Well, that's simple. Basically, if the place where you bought the product refuses to let you know who supplied it to them, then after 30 days, they're considered liable as the manufacturer and can be sued as such. Oh, I get it. But what if the company is a government operation? Well, simply put, the Commonwealth is liable if it's trading. State traders that aren't controlled directly by Parliament qualify. And you should also know that individuals who operate in a territory, so the ACT or the Northern Territory, are also considered corporations for the purpose of the law. Alrighty, well that's good to know. What else do we have to figure out before we can go ahead? Let's have a butcher's, shall we? Now, because of what happened, were you hurt? Well, no. I guess it's just a good thing that I never go without my helmet and goggles. Yeah, you dodged a bullet on that one, mate. Did you lose anything as a result of someone else getting hurt? It can't be a business relationship, though. Well, I didn't lose anything, but my best boy, Grouse, he got his eye damaged real bad. He's probably going to be wearing that eye patch for the rest of his days. Alrighty, well, while that doesn't qualify you for anything, he might stand to have a case of his own, so we'll keep that in mind. What about other things that you own, or land or fixtures? Did you have anything damaged or destroyed? Actually, I sure did. My best dispenser was right next to the darn thing when I set the whole caboodle up. And now it's all gone, blown to smithereens. Alrighty, that's what I needed to hear. Let's keep moving on. So far you got a bonzer of a case on your hands. Blaine, I'd like you to meet a mate of mine. Say good day to Albert. Howdy, Doc. That's right, mate. Al's a doctor, but he also knows a little bit about the law. Al, my friend here thinks we might have a case on our hands. Can you help us out?
Guten Tag, gentlemen. I'd be more than happy to help. You see, when a business supplies goods it manufactures and are considered defective, that means that they are not as safe as people are generally entitled to expect. Now, how on earth do we figure something like that out? Well, more or less you need to consider what might be done with the goods. You have to think about the way in which they were marketed and what they were marketed for. Additionally, you need to consider things like what markings, instructions or warnings were put on the product, the manner in which it was packaged, and also the time of supply. If none of these things correlate with the legitimate intended use of the product, then it can be considered defective.
Well, it's a sentry. It's designed for perimeter defense, and that's exactly what I was trying to use it for. Didn't see on no packaging anything about the darn thing blowing up.
Well, it sounds to me like you do have a legitimate case on your hands. So far, everything seems to be correct.
Well, ain't that just a fine how you do? Now, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. What can I get out of this? Ah, you're a straight shooter, mate. I like that in a bloke. Now, if we're talking about consequences, basically, you've got reparation for material losses to value, and you qualify for up to $250,000 for non-economic loss, i.e. pain and suffering. That being said, they are pretty strict on it, so don't stuff them around.
Well, hey, I understand. I just want something that works.
Fair enough, mate, fair enough. But before we go headlong into that courtroom, we've got to be aware that they might turn around and try and fix us up. They do have ways to defend themselves, you know.
What, you mean like a sentry that actually works? I find that kind of hard to believe.
Nah, mate, nah. Legal defences. There are ways for them to get out of it without having to pay up. Matter of fact, I reckon I know just the bloke who could give us the tip-off. Good evening, maggots. How may Sergeant Cassidy help you today? How are you, Cass? Me and my friend Blaine here are just looking for a little bit of help in terms of defences. Defensive strategies, huh? If fighting is sure to result in victory, then you must fight! Sun Tzu said that. Not now, Cass. What we're talking about is legal defences. My mate here has suffered because of a defective product. He wants to know what he could be facing when he walks into that courtroom. I see. Well, you need to be aware of a few things, first off. A manufacturing company has many different defenses at their side. Most of them are contingent on the concept that the defect was not detected or didn't exist prior to shipping. More specifically, if a manufacturer can demonstrate that a defect did not exist at the time of supply, that's a legitimate defense. If a defect existed only because of compliance with a mandatory standard, that's a legitimate defense. If a defect could not have been discovered at the time, given scientific knowledge for the era, that's a legitimate defense. And if a component of the product was defective due to a design, markings or warnings upon it, guess what?
That's a legitimate defect?
That's absolutely correct, Private. That's a legitimate defect. Thanks a lot, Cass. Really appreciate your help. Well, Blaine, do you reckon you're ready to go for the big guns now? Heck, all I ever wanted was a big gun. Let's go get these cowboys.